Hey, so I've been bullied into making a series answering writing questions that anyone watching might have, so here we are. The first recording of this I did, the audio got corrupted, so back to this again, I guess. I went to Twitter, I tweeted out that people could come ask me any writing questions they might have. I got some replies, so I'm answering the first one here and now. From Mishor Karma. I've been trying to make a manga. I've written the characters, but when it comes to the dialogue between them, I feel like it's not unique. What kind of tricks can one use to make it better? I'm going to say the same joke I did before. Tricks are for kids. Haha, that was funny last time, so even funnier this time. Now, last time I spent the entire video building up to the big thesis statement, but not this time. Instead, I'm just going to say the entire point of making anything more unique is going to be layering. Again, that was like a big build up. I said at the very end of the video, it was like, whoa, that all tied back in together really uniquely, but no more. Now we're just going to straight up say it. So when you want to make dialogue more unique, or just anything more unique, you're going to do it with layers. You're going to add more layers to the scene, and the more layers you add, the more concepts you put in, the more unique it's going to feel. Of course, before we get too far into that, I'm going to set up the generic advice that pretty much all these questions are going to get, which is more practice is what actually will help you the most. Just take dialogue, rewrite them a few times until it starts to sound better, go find media that you really like that has a really unique sounding dialogue in it, and just analyze what they're doing to make that dialogue sound more unique, and just maybe copy what they do or use their structure, or like learn the tricks of the trade from them. Now, outside of that, what you can do more directly and some of the direct tricks you can apply to your own writing that makes your dialogue sound more unique would be thusly. One thing you can do is add a little tick to the way the characters speak. So you can add something to like the way they construct their sentences, or maybe certain phrases that they cling to that makes the speech patterns sound more interesting. What you can also do is add a gag to the character. If you have two characters talking and they both have unique gags and they're both like entering those unique gags into the conversation, then all of a sudden the conversation is going to overall be more unique because you're having not just two gags who in of themselves might be somewhat unique, you're having them also bounce off of each other. So you're getting way more likely to have a more unique segment of the conversation through that happening. So as an example, if you want to do both of those, you could have a character that has like a dark sense of humor that makes weird dark jokes out of nowhere, who also maybe trails off in their conversation. So they may randomly bring up a dark joke and then like start talking about it and then like get more quiet and start talking more away and begins to like mumble off onto something else entirely. And then if you have two characters that both have a unique tick to their speech pattern and also have a unique gag, then you can see how the conversation feels a lot more dynamic and unique than it might have before if they were just talking to each other normally. This also kind of plays in with stuff that Manga and myself like to do, which is give characters unique types of speech patterns. So you can do something like give a character a completely unique laugh that is unique to that character. You can also give them a kind of catchphrase that they insert into certain parts of their conversations, or maybe that they close sentences with. Something that if you hear just that part, you would know who would say it, even if you had no indication on who was talking at that moment. That would really help make things feel more unique and just generally makes for better dialogue if you can tell who's speaking while even seeing who it is who is speaking. What you can do beyond that is again more layering. Just keep adding more and more layers to the conversation that makes them sound more unique. So you could add in multiple gags or multiple ticks or multiple circumstances of the situation. But a lot of that is more construction rather than the actual like topic of the conversation. If you want the topic of the conversation to be more unique, well, you're gonna have to work on the narrative a little bit. For example, if you have like a fantasy or sci-fi series, you might have a character come into the room to talk to someone, but there's a weird, strange creature caged behind them who keeps staring at the character as they're talking, making them feel uncomfortable. Or maybe you could have one of the characters learn a piece of information about the other character they're about to talk with that may or may not be true, but paints the way they view the conversation in a different light. But like most directly and most powerful thing you can do to make the actual topics of the conversation more unique is if you have like a generic conversation that's about to happen that's been done a lot of times before, you can add a twist onto it or add more layers to it that makes it feel more unique. So if you had two characters that might have butted heads before and one of them is now asking the other for help, instead of having it play out normally where it's just the character goes, asks for help, they might have a little back and forth and then it's like, okay, I'll help you. Instead of doing that, you can like switch it on its head more. You could have them trick the other person into helping them. You could have them like try to get them to help them, but they say no and end up doing it inadvertently anyway. You can make the conversation and just this narrative more unique by taking the standard thing that you might be doing there and just adding a little bit of a twist on it. And just through the nature of doing that alone, you're all of a sudden in the territory of conversations that happen way less often if they've happened before at all. And then in that case, it's going to have to sound unique if it's not been really done before. And the more you do those type of things, the more and more unique the conversation is going to sound. And again, anything works this way. If you just keep adding layers to it, if you say, I'm going to have two characters talk like this, and they're both going to have multiple gags and multiple tics to their speech patterns, and there's going to be like a weird thing happening in the corner of the room, and there's going to be some information that's flowing around, that's misinformation, that's painting the conversation weirdly, and like one character doesn't know what's going on and the other one does. And also, beyond all of that, there's this magic thing that's also happening that makes it even more unique of a circumstance, and all of a sudden you have a really unique sounding conversation. Will the conversation be good? That's down to how well you can actually execute upon these things. Of course, the more you do this, the more you have practice layering things in, eventually you'll just start writing the base conversation more layers than you normally were before. And then you can still add layers on top of that. So let's say you normally are writing with one layer, just a character shows up and talks to someone and moves on. If you start adding 1, 2, 3, 4 layers on top of that, maybe eventually you start just naturally writing 5 layers as a baseline. And when you want to make it more unique than that, you can just keep adding more layers. And there's not really a limit to this. It's a lot to do with skill and balancing and timing and like those type of things, but it's really more so down to the preferences of the writer and the reader on how many layers you want to have. If you want a more complex story with a lot of happening, with this many cogs turn around during each and every conversation, then you can just every conversation have a lot going on and a lot of dense information going on. But it's all down to like what you're trying to accomplish in that individual scene. So that's my main advice for having more unique dialogue and just more unique things in general. Add layers. The more layers, the more unique. So thank you, Karma, for asking this question, and I'm not going to thank you for bullying me into making this series. So don't expect that one. That is all. Bye. Hey yo, now we're in the inslate. I'm making another inslate. The second inslate I had to make. I don't know what I said in the first inslate. Oh wait, I do. I know exactly what I said. I said, if you're watching this series, go ahead and leave a comment asking questions, or go on Twitter and ask me a question with that, or like follow me and wait for me to actually tweet a Q&A segment or something. Do any of those things, and don't even worry about anything. Seriously, this is hopefully a really good opportunity for any writers, because this is a very specific, focused piece of advice. If there's anything you're struggling on or you particularly want to improve and it's just on that specific thing, you just ask a question related to that specific thing. And I'll do my best to answer said question to the best of my abilities. Of course, beyond that, don't even worry about asking any number of questions. You can ask 100 questions. It doesn't matter. There's not going to be many people lining up to ask questions. If you like this, cool. I don't care. You don't have to like or subscribe or anything. I really don't care about that. I just want to help writers get better and give some feedback and advice that will hopefully make the world a better place and make writers more capable to write things. That is my only goal. Thank you for understanding. Bye.